And we're live, guys. What's up?
All right.
Hey.
What's going on?
Hey.
Another episode of R3SET Live.
Cha-ching.
We got to welcome Chris back because, you know, we were missing you, man, last week, dude.
I saw that.
So we had to make some pretty interesting adjustments and stuff, dude. So,
Well, you guys did a fantastic job.
Yeah, we pulled it together.
Yeah, Devin knocked it out of the park. We're talking about give life to art and the art of creativity. We really was creative last week. I have to say.
Yeah, you were.
We made it work. Well, hey, man, tell us about where you were and why you were not here, man. I mean, you were doing some pretty stellar stuff.
I was excited. So I was in Boise, Idaho. Yep. At the ClickFunnels headquarters, actually. So ClickFunnels had a private event for all their certified partners, and one of my other business partners paid for the certified partner program and took me along. It's a pretty expensive program, so I was really grateful to go. Learned a ton of awesome stuff. Met Russell Brunson, who is just the most relaxed and chill dude to hang out with. I would hang out with him all day. It's great. Anyway, he showed us some awesome ways to kind of make sales. Like, if you guys aren't familiar with what a funnel is, check out ClickFunnels or check out just the concept of funnels. But he's automated the whole system. He gave us a couple of great strategies. We heard from his social media guru of the best way to convert the most ads for the least amount of money and all the strategies that they use there, as well as how to do some giveaways and stuff for anybody that has a funnel. And what else do we do? We had a what they call a hackathon, which is where you hear from an actual $1 million client who needs a funnel or a sales package for a new business or a new revenue stream that they're standing up. They give you the parameters and you put together their whole strategy. You put together the sales materials, you put together the funnel, and we had to do that in 24 hours. So I was up late. It was definitely an experience. And it taught me a lot about what you can do in 24 hours. You know, I was only there for 2 days. The flight took longer than the event, you know?
I can imagine. It sounds like an awesome event, dude. So thank you for sharing that with us and going and hanging out. And we're going to definitely implement some of the stuff you learned. So I'm really excited. We have a special guest today. And I'm going to throw a little shout out to her, but she's going to get a formal introduction later as we make our rounds. But just love to welcome Jess Sweeney. How was your weekend?
Oh, my weekend was busy as usual.
And you'll see why when you get a chance to meet her some more. So Devin and PJ, PJ, you had an awesome weekend, didn't you?
I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I went to a bachelor party for my brother's best friend, and it was a ton of fun. Did a lot of partying. It was a blast. We had 15 of us in a party bus, rolling around Providence, Rhode Island. Yeah, I think that's where I went. I wasn't really paying attention, so I was on the party bus. I didn't really. Oh, we lost a window on the bus. A 4-foot window fell out on the highway doing 70.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Luckily, about air conditioning.
Cars were swerving and stuff, but luckily, nobody hit anybody. And
yeah, that sounds like a lot of debauchery and shenanigans.
You might not have wanted to go there because I could just talk about this for another 20 minutes. No, it was a lot of fun, and yeah, I had a blast. So
a window's better than a wheel. Jeez,
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot worse.
What was going on that party bus?
Yeah. That's the behind the scenes stuff. We'll get to that later.
All right, there you go. So Devin,
on the paywall.
The weekend. How was your weekend, man? And week and stuff.
My weekend was good. I just I did not do anything crazy. I didn't get on a party bus or anything like that. But I did a lot of reading, and I watched Guardians of the Galaxy on Friday for Cinco de Mayo. It was really good. Definitely worth seeing. Just the dynamic of that group of actors is hilarious, and their characters are so good. So
yeah, that first one was a surprise.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I would have to, if there was a negative to it, the standards were set so high by the first one that it wasn't surprisingly good like the first one. But besides that, I just did some reading and worked on some client stuff, and it was a chill weekend.
Oh man, super chill. Well, my weekend was pretty awesome. It was Pride weekend here in Northampton.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, they have, and I don't know if you guys know, like Northampton is probably not a big town. It's probably about 20,000 people, but the Pride Parade draws anywhere from 15 to 20,000 people all over. And it's one of those things that the city and the county and the community are really involved in. I remember the first time I attended, I had never seen the community come out in so much support.
It's such an overwhelming good.
It is really overwhelming. They have a great festival. And I went to go chill at a barn party and bonfire party in Hadley that was just the bomb. I had never been to a bonfire or a barn party, and I'm telling you, they had a DJ in there, they had a big bonfire, and man, we partied it up. It was really awesome.
Wow.
So,
You've never been to a bonfire before?
I was just thinking that, but I wasn't
Maybe
going
we
to say
should talk
anything.
about that.
The first kind of
I
party
never.
was-
I'm from the city, so we don't. That's not. We don't.
If you
do-
light things on fire,
You don't
it's
light
just for like a
sticks on
riot.
fire?
that might be a riot or a
Burn
building,
barrel.
or abandoned cars on fire.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But not a
Trash fire party.
That was my official break-in of a bonfire and the actual barn party that was kind of jamming. The DJ was killing it. So I had a good time. At Cinco de Mayo, I hung out with my boy Noah, and we drank. He came over. We had tacos and tequila. Yeah, that was
My
pretty.
two favorite things.
Yeah, so that was it. And we did it up. So it was a great weekend. So overall, hey, let's get into it. So
Let's
our
get
title,
into it.
All right, our title of the show is Giving Life to Art, Growing Organic Movements with Jess Sweeney. And I'm going to pass the ball over to Devin because they're good friends. He's going to roll us through the show. So super excited. It's going to be a super exciting show, you guys. And Devin, over to you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks again for coming on and hanging out with us, Jess. And
Yeah, this is exciting. I want to do more of this.
Cool.
hell yeah, we're definitely going to have you back.
Good.
And yeah, we met a couple of years ago just in the various volunteering and kind of trying to make the Berkshires better
Yeah.
thing that we seem to do a lot of. So you got involved. The first time I think we came to one of your events at Common Folk was a pitch event. And
Yeah.
it was this really awesome, kind of idea jam that people had ideas for board games and people, there were documentaries or just come hang out and cook with me or something. I don't remember all of the ideas. There was a lot of them. There was probably 40 people there, and they were just, it was
Our
this
most successful event, I think, honestly.
really,
Yeah.
you got to have more of those because that was really cool.
Yeah,
We're
that was
actually
awesome.
in the process of planning a new one. So, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I love
So
the
yeah,
name.
the what part? The
Idea
Common
Jam.
Folk or the Idea Jam?
Both, but Idea Jam, I think that's so brilliant.
Yeah, it was super well received. Just we kind of set the tone of maybe these ideas won't come to fruition, maybe they will, but let's put them all into the air and see what happens. And so many things have grown since then. So,
Wow.
and the collective has been oh, remember that pitch party? We should have another one. So we're in the process of figuring out where and when to do that. We have a new, we Common Folk don't, but the city has a new design lab, which is catered for design thinking. And so there's
Oh, that's cool.
race boards and projectors and cool gadget stuff, which if any of you are in North Adams, happy to show you this room because it's amazing. So we're trying to hopefully schedule it in there.
Hell
But
yeah.
yeah, everyone's
Wow.
missing that energy and ready for more. So
Wow, that's awesome.
So, in addition to co-founding Common Folk and this awesome artist collective that we got connected to, you've been up to something new recently, which is this Roots Center, and you're currently the executive director. So, tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, so a few years ago, I'm actually in the center right now. It's located on Eagle Street in North Adams. And when I was working at Northern Berkshire Community Coalition, I had started to support a conversation around writing a strategic plan for a teen center. There were a lot of young people. I was in youth programming there, and there was a lot of young people who were like, man, I wish we had a cool space to hang out in that isn't necessarily a cafe. And there were a lot of youth workers who were like, we wish there was a space for teenagers to come together and hang out. And explore whatever in the city. And so I had grown really, really attached to all of those conversations and the people, and we had written a strategic plan, and I didn't necessarily, I wasn't necessarily thinking about applying for the job throughout that process. And like, as I was sort of figuring out my future, I really wanted to take on a new challenge. And it just sort of, and it also, because they were only asking for a half-time position to start, I was like, that'd be really great, because I can kind of build up Common Folk a little bit in some of my time, and then focus on my passion for working with specifically high schoolers. So I applied for the job, and now I'm here. And we opened in October, and it's been really exciting. We've had over 100 young people come in since then. And we have a good consistent, like 10 to 15 young people who are coming all of the time. And it's been really great, because we are just really leveraging the youth voice in the community. There's been a lot of successes for young people, which has been really heartwarming for me. I've always sort of danced in I really love youth development and supporting young people in creating projects, or just bringing their ideas to fruition. And of course the arts, and this is a nice sort of smash up sometimes of both of those worlds. We, by the end of June, North Adams will also have a really awesome skate park.
Wow.
So, and that was also an idea that was totally initiated by high schoolers, and like now is in existence. So it's a really exciting time to be a leader for young people, because there are a few successes. There's certainly a lot of work that needs to be done, but I feel really passionate about supporting the youth voice. And in my personal definition, youth being up to 35, but in the Roots world, 14 to 22. So I feel really passionate about just really helping to leverage those voices in the community, because I think it's an untapped area of expertise and just change and excitement for our community. I think young people bring a lot of fresh ideas to the world, and especially to their communities and their schools. So I'm excited to really be helping to really organize those voices and support them and advocate for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think we can all agree that it's so important, especially in like the art space that seems to be crushed by the traditional school system. I don't want to hate on that the education system, but it definitely doesn't encourage what we as creatives, I think, would like to see in the development of both the individual and the community around arts and creativity, and give these young people a voice.
Yeah.
So what was like the journey for you to get into this? What kind of, like, how did you get here?
It's funny. So I went to MCLA and was studying theater.
Theater major too. Woo!
Yeah. Many creative people have theater backgrounds. It's really interesting. Originally, when I went into school, I was like, I'm going to be an actress and I'm going to make it to Broadway. And very quickly going into MCLA, I was like, nah, I don't know if I want to do that. And I had just like directed my own play in high school. And so I had like gotten this like director like juice in me, and I was like, oh, I don't know if acting is really the line. And so I took college as an opportunity to really explore all the other parts of theater, and build my experience around theater. And by senior year, I was like, oh no, I'm really interested in like nonprofits and social work, but not in like clinical aspect. More in just like building community and like what that looks like. And a lot of that is social work, but like I said, like not in the terms of like Department of Children and Family social work, but more in the like organic, community-based social work. So youth development and different kinds of programs. So I applied to NBCC and got a job as a program associate for Unity Youth Development and Northern Berkshire Neighbors. Unity Youth Development is the youth programming, and Northern Berkshire Neighbors is neighborhood development. And so it was a really good experience to work with youth and then work with neighborhoods and really get a taste of like what it takes to support the development of each of those different worlds and try and find opportunities to bring them together. So I've just been really like, I'm a person who likes to explore things and try new things, especially with like art. I don't really like have a standard like medium that I work with. So really a lot of it was just like, I just met different people and got interested in different things. And now I'm just trying to pull and find ways of bringing all of those things together, which is sometimes challenging and sometimes super easy, depending on what I'm trying to do. So.
Wow. I like the fact of how you pulled all these worlds together and trying to synergize them and then translating them into some type of community development or neighborhood development or youth development. I think that's really powerful. And just as Devin was saying, as arts are getting out of the schools and they're kind of cutting those programs, I think things like the Roots and what you're doing with Common Folk is severely needed for artists and creators. So yeah, I love how you're merging those worlds together. And I love how it's just happening in terms of, you know, that it wasn't like a really set idea. It was a set of ideas that kind of continued to build. And I think that's kind of how it's continually to move. It's very natural. I like the way you're moving in regards to that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It feels good. You know, every year I really try and assess myself and what I'm doing and making sure that I'm not taking on too much, because I do that too. There's a lot of other side projects that I'm involved with, but which I'm slowly starting to cut a little bit, which is good because then new people get in and take them away in good ways, you know. So yeah. I feel like I'm a puzzle maker. I like put pieces together. Or at least I try to.
It's a good description.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it. And it seems to come very natural to you. And you can see where the puzzles actually fit together and then the impact. I feel like you can also see the impact of what it would be if, in fact, these pieces fit together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Like there's a lot of like intertwining of Roots and Common Folk. Common Folk is like less structured in that Roots is very much youth development, and there's specific objectives and outcomes that we want out of the young people that we're serving. But with Common Folk, it's like this like playground for people, and also support system. So a lot of young people start to gravitate towards that after a while, and it's cool to. Sometimes it's tricky balancing those relationships, but it's also really cool because that just, I don't know, Common Folk is like this. The best way I like to look at it is like a playground. It's a place where you can go and explore your creativity and figure out and like also explore that with other people and build relationships. So it's a little bit more free going. And I mean, I just think young people gravitate towards it because we say yes to creative openness, you know, right. People get that yes in their life.
And, you know, and that's so rare because that sets such a different tone because, well, it goes into a lot of things, but I want to say that I feel like this really falls in line, and what you're saying really falls in line with Common Folks' mission. And when I read your mission, I was pretty blown away. You know, I thought it was pretty amazing. So do y'all mind if I like take a moment just to read that? Because
Please.
Yeah, Common Folk is a collective of creative individuals and groups who share the common idea that art can be a catalyst for change. We believe that an individual, no matter their level of in powerful creative experience and share it with those around them. And I think that's just super amazing. I feel like that you're so in line and so in tune with that with that mission in terms of the way that you're moving, that it seems very powerful.
Yeah, it's funny because when we were writing that mission, which we have a more like kind of formalized mission that we had, I don't know. Anyway, but when we were writing that, we were in Northampton, which you said that you were living in Northampton. So it's just funny to be chatting with you, because that was kind of our home base for 6 or so months, and then I was like, I need to move to North Adams, and so I picked everything up and came here.
So yeah, I think our next question for you is, like, we ask all of our guests, like, what was your reset moment? Like, what was the moment that was reset? I know there might be a series of them, but we ask people this all the time for the Reset Live show. What was your reset moment?
I feel like I've had a lot of those moments. To pick out one that's most fresh in my mind, though, actually was maybe a couple weeks ago. I took this amazing training. It was a youth worker training, but it kind of felt like a people worker training. Like, it was just kind of a lot of the values that they were talking about was really about how to support people in general, but especially youth. And it just really shifted my perspective on how to support and advocate for people in general. And how the power of language plays a really large role in that, and understanding, and more importantly, really understanding where power itself lies, and how, when, you know, as someone who's an executive director, I have a lot of power, and as someone who has built really valuable relationships with the city of North Adams and city councilors and like all of these other people with even more power, how do I walk with people who maybe don't necessarily have power and share that power with them? And so that's just especially made me think on like a broader level of like our government and what's going on politically. There's just a lot going on. And so how can I be a person that supports those who don't have power? And how do I share my power with those people? And very specifically with youth, but also with people in general. So yeah, I feel like I recently was like reset on not necessarily a different path, but I feel like the path was like repaved.
Wow, that's
clearer.
That's very powerful when that happens.
Yeah. But and also like really inspiring for me, you know, like I, as someone who does take on probably a little too much, it was helpful for me to really see, oh, okay, this is totally aligned with my own personal mission.
Gotcha.
Supporting the people in my community. And how do I really how can I now take Common Folk and Roots and these other projects and really like use my personal mission as a way to catalyze those things and to leverage them.
Yeah, that's why I was so interested in like talking with you, because I feel like as a millennial, you know, when they say, well, what are they doing? I feel like you really embody the spirit of really taking your journey, your history, your story, and all your gifts and talents, and really using it to impact and create change and actually make a mark within the community itself. I think you're answering also in the reset moment, what is the larger mission or impact of what you want to get out of what you're doing? You know, so I really enjoyed it. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You guys want to chime in?
Well, I just felt like when Jess was talking about that, I was like, I'm gonna have to hit her up and just talk about that experience and that moment, like on a whole, you know, even outside of the show, because that sounded like an amazing experience, and I think we all gravitated or, you know, followed your explanation of that. So
yeah, well, it was interesting too because you know, throughout the whole youth worker training, it was a lot of younger people serving high schoolers or whatever it looked like. And we talked a lot about how young people are just often not valued in the community. And like, as someone who is an executive, I still consider myself on the younger end of the spectrum. And so, you know, so it was really enlightening to like now look at my community and say, wow, there's all of these like amazing strengths in young people that are not at the table, you know, like how many young people are sitting on boards for nonprofits, or just in general, like how many young people are asked to be a part, you know, millennials get this like slack of like, oh, we're all, you know, we're all over the place, or we're like too techie and like we're on our phones all the time. But I kind of find that a lot of millennials are like doing work on their phones all of the time. You know, we're being productive. We just, the way we do that is different than it used to be. So yeah, so it's just exciting to be in a room full of people who are like, young people are awesome and they're doing good things, and how do we all support even younger people, but also how do we leverage ourselves and our own millennials to not have this dialogue of, oh, you know, millennials are this or that, but to really like leverage the work that they're doing. Because like even like R3SET, like this is an amazing thing that's happening, and great advocacy for other millennials that are doing things, or other creative groups that are doing things. So yeah, my R3SET moment was like 2 months ago. Yeah, or like
one thing that we say a lot is, you know, and you said it too, everybody has multiple R3SET moments. So I love that you started with that, and that you painted this picture of responsibility of power, right? You're in this position of power, and you're acting responsibly with it, which is different than what maybe other organizations or even other people are doing, and finding a way to empower those who don't have as much. So that's something I really appreciate about what you said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we wanted to, there's this really cool study done by Adobe, and it's called The State of Creativity.
Ooh.
And it really paints the picture on the creativity gap that we have in our education systems, and as well as our workplace environments. But kind of to set the tone for that, because I love that you described Common Folk as like a creative playground, and that was like so on point with my experience when I've come to some of your events. And part of why I really enjoy it is it's just like people sharing ideas and just excited to do so, and there's no worry or care about like, you know, there's no negativity associated like with sharing your idea or any backlash you would receive. Like it's just like put it out there, see what happens, and like keep it moving. So
yeah,
that's part of the reason we thought the state of creativity has been an inspiration for rethinking everything and rethinking these outdated systems and ideas for R3SET. And I feel like this research and this study really fits like picture perfect with Common Folk, and probably actually across the board the work you're also doing with the youth. But before we hop into the study itself, I just thought I wanted to have a little fun with everybody on the call, and we'll start with you, Jess. And if you could just share, no, it's nothing bad. See, you can tell I've done this to them before. No, I just wanted to hear, I thought it'd be fun to talk about either a story or like a favorite art project you did in elementary school, or in your youth, because I always think that's fascinating to hear people like, you know, when we were actually encouraged every day to just be creative, what actually went on.
Elementary school, man, my brain, I can't even think.
You can grab a different time, it's okay.
So just a like create like a art project that kind of stood out to us. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like I'll give an example.
Yeah.
For myself, I remember, I think it was third grade, we had to draw these, we drew pictures of like seahorses, and then, yeah, that's right, John. I drew my own seahorse.
You drew your own seahorse.
And then we were able to either get a t-shirt printed with our artwork or a magnet or both. That's and cool. I like have always remembered that project. It was so badass.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So does it count if I talk about a project that I did with elementary school kids?
Absolutely, yeah.
So we made these really, I don't know what, so we took shoe boxes, and it was actually through IS 183, which is a program in South County And they have a learning through the arts, or an organization in South County. They have a learning through the arts program, which takes the core curriculum and puts art projects to support it. So it's an after school program. They go and learn their science and stuff, and then they come and hang out with us, and we do art projects that support what they're learning in school that week. And we took a shoebox, and we were learning about deep sea creatures. And so we all made like deep sea creatures and like taped them to the top of the shoe boxes, and then we cut a hole in the side and put blue tissue paper, so then you look through and it looks like the ocean.
Oh wow,
That's
Yeah,
cool.
it's really cool.
There's a name for those. I can't
Yeah, I
remember
don't know what they're called.
Okay, well, I was hoping you did. I don't remember the name.
This is like 6 years ago, so I don't know. I don't remember.
No, that's
Ocean
awesome,
boxes.
Ocean boxes.
Ocean
Yeah,
boxes.
shoebox ocean,
Yeah.
something like
That's what they're called now. In case anybody's making one after this.
Yeah, right. Scenes in boxes.
All right. Well, I'll do a last call here, guys. If anybody else wants to share their cool art. Apparently, that was just my thing, so maybe that was about me today. So.
I had a cool one. I remember
Dioramas.
ceramic fish.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Oh, cool. There you go. Chris got it. What is it called again, Chris?
It's a diorama, and Boysen stepped in to help us out with that one.
Thank you, Boysen.
There we go. Thanks, Poison.
One of the viewers.
I know. Hey, I had like this time where we used to have these ceramic fish, and at my church we had arts and crafts, which was really cool. And I remember, like, everybody painted all of their fish one color, and just to get it out of the way. And I went back and painted a fish. It was like a goldfish. It was blue and yellow and gold. You know, all the reflection in a goldfish.
Nice.
And I remember thinking, you know, looking at everybody else's, I was like, oh man, my stuff is ugly. Because everybody was all one color and everybody did the same thing. And I was the only one that did something different. And I remember my art teacher saying, wow, John, what an imagination you got, and what exactly what a real fish
That's
looks like.
awesome.
So I was like, oh, okay. So that was my first time understanding that being creative and being different was a really good thing.
That's
Very
funny because that reminds me just really quickly of the same IS 183 group. There was a little boy who had painted a bee pink. And I went up to him and I was like, are bees pink? And he's like, Miss Sweens, I'm using my imagination. I'm like, well, okay. Everyone
Bees
calls
pink?
by the way, which you're all more than welcome to do that.
There you go.
Nice. All right.
Well,
Did you want to go, Devin? Did you have one?
I've got plenty, but
We need to
One
ask.
We
thing
could
that
make the
sticks
show
out
just
is,
Do you
about
have
our
one?
projects.
That you can pick.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure your mom. I'm sure she would have some good stuff to say.
oh gosh, yeah.
I'm watching these comments waiting.
I think it was third grade. We had like a play that we had to write the script as a group. That was all about being like animals in a jungle, and I was a poison dart frog, and I had to like hop around and stuff, like act like a frog, and I wished I remembered more of it, but there was like, we had to make the set in the class. So we had like these giant trees that were like, I don't remember what they were made out of, but it like, we faked a jungle in the classroom for, I don't know, it took like half the year. So it was this really comprehensive project that was, it was awesome. And I still remember being a frog and hopping around like a frog.
With poison darts.
Exactly.
Maybe we
Might have
can
to
do
do-
an action of that,
Yeah.
I'll film that for the sequel to this or the follow up. That'll be the promo video, just me hopping around like
A little commercial.
A nice trailer. You'll have a nice trailer.
in a world where the man is a frog.
Oh God.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's poison dart frog. That's a good one.
Mine aren't nearly as exciting, so I'm going to refrain. I think the most exciting project that I remember is having to figure out how to drop an egg off of the roof of the elementary school without it breaking. I think everybody had that project.
That's an engineering thing.
Yeah, and
That's
That's
not
probably
hard.
what all Chris's are. Like
mine didn't break. That's it.
That's good.
That's so funny and so wow. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, a lot of my projects were self-funded in detention.
I need to hear more about that sometime.
We can talk. I wasn't the best child.
All right. So the idea here, and Chris, if you could put up for the viewers, I think we have a graphic to show you guys that there's this big gap between how important we believe creativity is and how creative we feel about ourselves and the work that we do. And just for people tuning in, I'm not sure if everyone can read this, but a couple of the big findings that stood out to us: only 1 in 4 people feel that they're living up to their creative potential, yet 80% of individuals believe that creativity is key to driving economic growth. And so I thought that was really, it's just a really interesting thing. And the reason I wanted to talk about a childhood project was because we did a presentation about the state of creativity at the Lilly Library in Florence. And we walked into the library, and you go in the kids section, and all over the walls, there's like pictures and posters and like colors and drawings, and just all this imagination. And then you go over to the adult section, and it's just like shelves and books. And so I wanted to kind of draw the comparison or the idea to common folk, in the sense that I feel like you guys are really empowering people to access and engage the creative process and with their own creativity. And I know that you have a lot of young people that come to the events, but I also know that it's pretty much across the board. Like, it's of all ages. Like, it's for anybody that wants to participate. So I'd be interested to get your take on that research and just what you've seen and found in your experience with common folk.
Yeah, it's amazing how relevant that is to common folk right now. So, like, we're a group of creative people, and creative is a really vague term to us. Like, we're when we talk creative and arts, we're including science, we're including food, we're including, like, creative thinking is more how we envision the creative, or like how we define ourselves as people in the group. And so it's interesting because as I've been growing this group, one of the biggest challenges I've had is that the sort of adult world, or I would say the more professional world, is like, you need to offer structure to the organization to make it succeed. But the creative people in the group are like rejecting those traditional structures that we have in place in our society right now. And so to kind of, for example, meetings, I say, hey, come to a meeting, and like, people are like, I'm not a meeting person, because they're a creative person. And so I'm in the process of figuring out, like, how do I almost like remarket and like redefine those things to a more creative audience. Because I asked someone, I like begged one of my friends who's really involved in the production end of things with common folk, but doesn't come to the meetings because he's like, I am not a meeting person. So I kind of like redefined it with him and was like, oh, we're just gathering and hanging out and gonna make sure that we get our production stuff done. And then he showed up and like brought up the most important point of the entire meeting, which was where the electricity was located versus where our stage was. We had to completely redo our whole plans. So like, and that's a constant like issue I'm hitting with this group is like marketing, right? Like the big scary M word. Everyone hates talking about marketing, but it's so integral. Like, it's such a huge piece of any organization or any group of people in getting anything done, especially if you're trying to get an audience to it, is you have to market it. But when I say, hey, we're having a marketing meeting, I'm there with one other person. When 80% of those leaders are already doing marketing by having a conversation with someone next to them. So it's really interesting, this like shift that's happening in the organization that I'm really trying to support, but also like am challenged by the fact that I have to do certain things like government wise to make the organization legitimate, like becoming a nonprofit. we luckily have a fiscal agent right now, which is really great. So that's been helpful in sort of alleviating that pressure and gives us a lot of creative freedom to not necessarily have to fit in that mold. But it's interesting because I feel like we are in the process of really redefining how an organization is structured. Like our leadership committee are also people doing the programming. And so there's this shared leadership sense. Like I'm the director for sure. I'm definitely the face of the organization, but by no means am I the only leader of this group. It's very much shared. And so that is challenging when I step out of this organization and I'm trying to get support or just advice, because a lot of it is like, oh, go, streamline, go do the thing, go do it the same way everyone's been doing it for the past 15, 20 years. And then I go back and try and do that. And everyone's like, no, that's not how we work. It's not how we work. It's not what we want to do. It's not how we want to do it. So it's like, it's interesting to try and, I feel like we're discovering new ways of running organizations. But it's hard to get other people on board with that too.
I like that you say that, and I know we're getting ready to go to a break, but I think personally, and I'm just going to advocate for this, Devin and PJ through Reaction Lifestyle has done a really great job with our company in terms of adopting certain technologies and platforms that really help us keep us in flow and creative without having to go through a lot of the meetings. So they've cut a lot of that stuff down. And made us a lot more productive and a lot more creative on the go that really fits the lifestyle that we have right now. So they've done an amazing job on that. So I'm only saying that because I think like you're right. And you can get so caught up in the meetings and trying to do the administrative, and it's so not fun. We stopped talking about marketing ourselves. We really start referring to sharing our stories.
Yeah, that's that's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah,
exactly. So just kind of reframing. So, and I just wanted to share that with you because I think that would be, you guys are there and you're so good at collaborating and connecting. And I know that's already there. So I just wanted to say that that's something I know that they have done for R3SET that has been super effective.
Yeah. So basically Devin and PJ and I need to sit down and have deeper.
There you go. Grab them and,
hell yes.
Grab them up and, do whatever you want with them.
There's some really cool, I mean, we won't go into like the biz dev side because I could so nerd out to this and like holacracy and there's some fantastic new like organizational structures that
Really?
kind of put that in place. Yeah, this one in particular that we use, it's called holacracy. That's
I'm into
distributed.
that.
It's like distributed decision making. So it's not like a anarchy or anything like that, but you have complete autonomy to make decisions over what you control. So like the marketing person doesn't have to go to, the leadership, and that goes for everyone. So
and we need to get a beer soon then.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then if you add that with some of the platforms like Slack and Asana and all those things that they've incorporated in our company, I think it frees the company up, and it frees our thinking up and our time. It doesn't bog you down with all that administrative meetings.
Well, and time is such a precious commodity with common folk too, because we are all volunteers and all have full-time jobs on top of doing this. So it's like deeply important that we have a system and a structure that works for us, because there, even when I've tried to sort of step out of the like volunteer world and really try and like bring a financial structure, everyone's like, well, no, like there's this inherent beautiful thing about the fact that this is all volunteer. Like we care about our community and our creative community specifically. And why does that necessarily, like, as much as we want jobs, ideally this is just a support system that is getting us full-time jobs in our own individual creative paths. Right. So it's just cool I'm really interested in just exploring that a lot, especially because, I think giving to your community creatively is really important too, and supporting creative people is important for the community to do. So there's a lot of, we're kind of this just bubbler of information right now. So I'm excited to see where we are in 5 years with all of that in mind.
Got you. So I
That brings
think
up.
we're gonna try to go to break, do a video, or
Yeah, and then I think that last question leads into our next question. So it's perfect.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll be right back with you guys. Stay tuned.
I am a musician in a local reggae hip-hop band.
I'm a recording engineer.
My art is taking a technical idea and put some programming to it and allowing other users to interface with that idea.
What gives life to art?
Well, it's all about the passion and collaboration.
There's a lot of emotions and feelings, and that's kind of the spur of the inspiration.
Each of us has a different specialty. We all work in some type of expressive flow art. We have hula hoops, koi, all types of different instruments and that sort. We also have live painters, and we have Mike, who does his thing on stilts.
I work with Northfire Recording Studio. I've done Swedish folk CDs. I've done African hip hop. It's like all over the map what we do there.
I'm a performing artist. I'm a cultural activist and a community organizer.
I actually teach art. I'm an art director for the Salvation Army, Bridging the Gap. So I work with at-risk students, ages 12 to 18.
Well, I'm one of the owners over at Northfire Recording Studio.
And I work with nonprofits and small businesses, helping to document their success stories through video.
For me, it gives me a sense of purpose.
I believe art gives life. Without it, it's very difficult to consider the art that is within each of us.
That's profound. That's profound.
We encourage the artists to kind of talk to those other people, because those are the people who are going to help grow, the people that are going to be exposed to your art, because it's really about getting the exposure. So
really just work on their own networking skills and how they interact with one another.
Yes. But one of the things that keeps art alive and well and keeps us seeking, I think, is the sense of community that can come behind it. The fact that you can find something beautiful or find happiness in something and then also build an immediate connection off someone else that also finds happiness in that gives life to art, as you put it.
Can't leave out community either. That's what life and art is all about. So just the fact that Give Light to Art is coming together in this is a beautiful thing. So I'm appreciative of it, and looking forward to getting involved a lot more as well.
And we're back, guys. Just so you know, John Lewis had to take off, so he is not here anymore. But we have everybody else, and we got Jess, and we're ready to go.
Awesome. Are we just doing a little? There we go.
Yeah,
I think
I'm gonna be adjusting a couple
stuff.
things because John just left. So here we are.
Yeah.
Just a nice technical something or another.
Hey,
just had to take care of a little thing.
Thanks, John.
Instead of a technical challenge, we can call it a technical opportunity.
Yes.
There we go.
It's branding. That's it. You got to brand the power of language, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Marketing.
Cool. So we were just getting into kind of the future of common folk and wanted to touch on that a little bit, and then maybe talk about the future for what Roots has coming up.
Cool. So I'll actually start with Roots and end with common folk.
Awesome.
So Roots is, I mean, I think the future is an open door at this point. We have an interesting structure where we have a youth board and a board of directors. So we have two boards. And we're really working towards the youth board being very self-sufficient in designing and implementing programming for Roots. So basically the future is going to be training the youth board and really making sure that they have the skills and the tools that they need to be successful in that. And who knows what will come of that. I mean, I don't know what the programming is going to look like. It's really dependent on who's ever on the youth board at the time. You know, my job is really to support their voices and what they want in the space and outside of the space and just for young people in general. So, you know, with being open in October, we've been really taking things easy and slow and starting to scaffold things. So I hope long-term for Roots, we see a future of really bright, dedicated, and engaged young people in the community, which we already have a lot of. So I'm really just hoping that Roots is like a breeding ground for that, or an incubator for that.
Nice.
Common Folk, some recent things or some recent conversations have really made the future for Common Folk, I think, look pretty awesome. So I have a couple friends in Amherst. Actually, I was in Amherst Saturday, and a couple of friends were like, "We love what you're doing with Common Folk. We want to start a chapter in Amherst." And I was like, "Oh!" So like immediately, my mind is like, "Oh man, branching out. Okay, how do I support this?" Because like Common Folk, I don't think like we're still really growing here. But I was like, "Oh, but I don't want to like discount this energy that's coming from somewhere else." So I sat down, I've been talking with them for months about like what that would look like, how they could start small. And it's made me really like put a lot of ideas down on paper and a lot of our history and just sort of what was our process of getting to where we are now so that I can support that in other places. And so I think the future long-term is really to build a network of Common Folk groups, so groups in communities that support the local and emerging art in whatever way that looks, and specifically local and emerging artists who are using their art as a catalyst for change. So really organizing creative people to have a support system and to have better access to resources and people so that the local and emerging arts are erupting. Nice. I have a friend who's moving out to LA and who's interested once he gets there of like maybe supporting some stuff out there too. So I think really just the future is looking like a big network, and sharing the Common Folk mission and vision with other communities so that because what I'm hearing a lot from a lot of creative people is that people who are not quite professional in their creative careers are having a really hard time tapping into that. So to tap into a network that is specifically supporting them is, or like it's mutual support. I really like, you know, I think in the beginning stages of any artistry, like it's a give and take. If you work with promoters, you also have to be promoting yourself. But I think it'll be interesting. I'm hoping that it just really strengthens the local and emerging music, not just music, but art scene in general. And really, my favorite word the past few months is leverage, really leveraging local artists, especially those that are invested in their communities, and using their art as a tool. And that looks different across the board. More immediate, short-term future stuff with Common Folk is, I think we're really looking at how to maybe shift our season into the winter and to start promoting a wintertime activity, because there is so much happening in the Berkshires in the summer, like almost Seriously. Overwhelmingly too much.
That's really true. Yeah.
And it's awesome. It's great. It's like we nail down the summer, but like as soon as the summer ends, it's like, what do I do in November?
Yeah, it's a triple.
I don't care about the snow.
We go to the slopes.
Yeah, that's true. That's totally true.
No, I hear you.
Ice fishing.
Yeah. But like, what about music? You know, like I drive out in snowstorms to Northampton to go to shows because there's nothing going on in the winter. So we're talking about really shifting our season to be supporting the holds, especially if we're trying to build a music scene, because as vibrant as the Berkshires are for creativity and culture, the music scene is not supported at all.
No.
And so I really, my personal goal is to really make North Adams like the Berkshires version of Northampton. Like, let's start building that hub. And we've actually started to build a relationship with the Colonial, We have a show on June 1st, which I really encourage everyone to go to. Mikey Sweet with special guest Squash Blossom. We're exploring, the theater's really interested in supporting the music scene, and they were like, who better to talk to than common folk? So we've been designing a series and testing that out. We recently had R3SET and Francesca Shanks back at the end of April, end of April. And that went really well. So nice. Just really tapping into, we're really kind of branching out right now and seeing what that looks like. So I'm excited. The future is very, very bright.
Yeah, very cool. And as we start to wrap up, as you're talking about this future that you see and the future for common folk and the future for the collective, we've touched on this a little bit, and I think you're alluding to it a bit here, of this idea of balance, right? How do we balance, the seasons are changing, right? How do we have that balance? And then one thing that we've talked about a lot internally at R3SET is, how do you balance your passions, so your art in your case, with what you need to sustain and support yourself? So that's a question that I think we'd love to get your opinion on. And as we come to the end of the show, I think that's what we can leave people with.
Yeah. So I think that there is, I think it's all about really looking inwardly at yourself and figuring out what you're worth. It's not a conversation that young people are often asked, because we're often asked to do things for free, and creative people are often asked to do things for free. And so I think when we're trying to balance our creative self with what we need to survive, we need to be asking for what we're worth. I kind of look at okay, I got a college education. I have a degree that's worth $40,000. Base minimum, that's what I should be asking for anyone, from anyone, whether it's my creative career or it's my career with young people. And so, but we're not very comfortable in having those conversations. Not all of us in the creative world, I mean. And that is a huge conversation that I have, especially with creative people. They're like, well, I have to get this job because I need to pay my bills. So my creative passion is pushed on the back burner. And why does it have to be that? Why can't a musician be like, you know what? I practice 6 hours a week. I'm worth this. And this is what I expect to get paid for a gig. And musicians especially get hit hard with this, because promoters are constantly like, oh, I'm saying this as a promoter. I ask musicians to be paid less all of the time, and I feel terrible about it. But we gotta start just putting what we're worth on the table. And that's an uncomfortable thing. I mean, especially with common folk, the money is oh, we're not doing this for the money. We're not doing this for the money. But the money is really important. Living costs something, unfortunately. But I think fortunately we are living in a county that often those expenses are pretty low. And so it kind of gives us that opportunity to leverage ourselves and to really, really imagine creative lives. So balance is tough. It's certainly really tough. But I think we just need to have the conversation more of, we're worth this. And we kind of need to say that to especially our government right now, who's, cutting NEA funding and all of that. It's no, this is very much worth something in our world, arts and creativity. On a larger scale and individually. So we all just have to be advocates for that.
Yeah, I think knowing what you're worth is a golden response. And I really appreciate you speaking to that, because that's something that a lot of people don't speak to. So Jess, I really want to thank you for coming on the show, for building what you've built. It's incredibly needed. It's something that and I think we all know is really needed in today's society. It doesn't only provide a space, but it encourages others to engage in the creative process, expand their creativity, and really allow themselves to flourish. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on here. I've been very inspired by R3SET since we first met. So I'm really excited to tap in with you guys again and see all this good work that you guys are doing to really like leverage the creative world in a different way than other people are doing it.
Awesome. Hell yeah. We got to do a lot more collaboration.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. Keep the creative playground spinning for us. It's so important.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
So near and dear to my third grade self.
We'll definitely be at your next pitch idea jam thing too.
Yeah,
That'll be
maybe
awesome.
we can find a
Let's
date.
collab.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, we'd love to help put that together.
Cool.
Sweet.
Awesome, you guys. So
all right, guys.
Before we end the show, I want to do something we conventionally haven't done, which is to thank
Quote of the day. No.
Yeah, right. To actually do the quote of the day. No, I want to thank our viewers. We've got quite a few people engaged. We've got quite a few people who shared. So Gail, obviously Devin's mom, has been here since day one.
She's the champion of reset.
She really is. My friend Tegan has been here since day one, watching every show. Dr. Ren, my fiance, Boysen from MKP, dropped some great comments in there. I think you would love, Jess, about holacracy and some other resources.
Cool.
And those are only the people that are coming up in my feed. So thank you guys who are watching so much. Without you, this show wouldn't be possible. And we really, really appreciate you. Keep an eye out for follow-ups from this show. We're going to have show notes that cover all the things that we talked about. We're going to link to that Adobe study, and we're going to be providing some great follow-up resources for you. So
don't forget how can people get in touch with you, Jess?
There you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook. Common Folk and Roots are on Facebook. Probably like the easiest, quickest way. We are commonfolk@gmail.com, rootsteencenter@gmail.com. Both of those go directly to me. And both organizations have websites. Commonfolk.org is, we actually just like totally revamped our website. Super easy to navigate. And rootsteencenter.com is definitely in the works of being reworked, but there's certainly information on there. So yeah, check us out on all those internet ways. Or come to North Adams and visit me, and I'll take you out for coffee, and you can learn all about how cool North Adams is.
Hell yeah.
Excellent. All right, guys. Well, unless we have anything else, thank you, viewers. Thank you, Jess. We really appreciate you. And until next week, thanks for joining us on the Reset Live Show.